But before we do that, can you lay out some of what you think are maybe some of the better plants for vivarium? Because like I said, reptile keepers tend to just, gravitate towards pothos and it's kind of like the golden plant for us. And there's definitely better options out there. So maybe you could run through a few, like we'll start with some tropical plants.
Okay, yeah. So like I I see on a bunch of these Facebook groups, people are like, "Oh, look at it. I just put this vivarium together with these plants." And it's like you go and it's the very basic. You got your crotons and you got your dracaena and your cordylines and ficus benjamina, which is very popular. And those are all like the $2-3 plants you can get that you see at your local Walmart or whatever.
I
And
have
those
all
are like
those.
yeah. Yeah, it's like the basic easy ones that you can mass produce in a greenhouse and just get them out the door. And so people see that they're like, "Oh, that'll look good in the tank." But what a lot of people don't realize is those plants, like, in order for them to thrive, they need a ton of light, and they also get way bigger than any tank can actually hold.
Mm.
And usually what happens is they don't get enough light and then they die. And then people are all sad because of that. And so like definitely one of the top ones that everybody can't kill or very hard is pothos.
Yeah.
And like if you have anything that requires a high humidity environment and you're not good with plants, I definitely suggest pothos.
Hmm.
And then some other good ones for that, um, like depending on species, whether it's arboreal or not, I found that the spider plant, there's like three varieties. I don't like variegated stuff, so I generally stick with the straight green, and
Hmm.
it's very grassy looking, so it's good for replicating that sort of environment. And that's like one of the few I'd recommend for, say, a blue tongue skink, because it grows extremely fast and it's really hard to kill.
Hmm. Yeah,
But
no, yeah, those are it's so funny because it's almost like a meme starter pack. You know those starter pack memes where it's
oh yeah,
and that's kind of what it is. Like you have the ficus, you have the pothos, and the croton in there as well. And you're right. I think those are just the cheap plants that we all buy, and inevitably either they die or you have to cut their heads off because they start growing into the screen. What about
yeah.
as far as bromeliads go? Is there any of your favorite species, or there's just kind of any bromeliad works well?
So for bromeliads, like definitely one of my favorite plants out there. They're great in the fact that they come in pretty much every size.
Hmm.
So there are people that like their job is to breed different types of Broms. And so I really find that um, the Neurogelia is probably one of the best that you can use, but you'll more often find that the Gusneriads and Varesia are a lot more readily available just because they're the ones that have the big showy flower bracts on them. So that's what people like. But the other ones have a way larger variety of color, but you got to look a little bit harder to find them.
That makes sense. Is there any good plants that kind of would give you a larger sort of wood structure? Something I know the reason that people probably gravitate towards something like a ficus is because it branches well and it gives you some good opportunities to climb. Is there any good ones that we don't really use in the hobby that could be used to kind of simulate that same sort of thing that aren't going to pop to the
Um,
top of the screen?
yeah, like that's the thing because most people with your arboreal lizards and so like for example like a frilled dragon or whatever, they spend a lot of time horizontally on the trees, and it's kind of unfortunate that we can't find a plant like that, but everything that is tree like is going to grow massive and straight up.
Hmm.
But I found that, or I'm going to be trying out an experiment with a ficus aria, so that's a strangler fig.
Oh, cool.
Those are like the ones you see on like all the Mayan ruins that are like engulfing it and stuff like that. And what I'm actually going to do to try and get a like a tree type effect in the cage without actually having a sort of tree structure without growing through it is mount a strangler that I'm currently growing out on a few pieces of wood that will just be vertical.
Mm.
And then basically their habit is to constrict whatever they're growing around and then branch out from that. So you can potentially imitate what an actual tree would look like.
Wow, that is really cool. So I totally agree. It's almost better to create the wood structure, like create wood stalks or trunks just by using wood like from outside, and then add plants to it to give that tree effect. But that sounds really cool, the strangler fig, because in the rainforest you see those all over the place, and they're amazing to look at. And it's I mean, sometimes they'll even eventually kill the tree on the inside, and they're just left with this like hollow lattice structure, and they look
Yeah.
incredible. I didn't even know you could buy. I've never seen one of those in a greenhouse. Do you guys have them in
I
your place, or?
no. I
Just by the
acquired
way you
it.
answered that, it looks like it was stressful to get.
Yeah, it was I think I'm probably one of the only people in Canada. I might be wrong. There might be some other crazy plant nerds up in the Toronto area that have managed to acquire some, but I was able to get a cutting about a year ago from one, and then I rooted it out, and now it's currently about 2 feet tall. And then I'm going to be doing more cuttings off of that to make more plants.
Have you done any like video or pictures of that, or is that still kind of a secret project that you haven't revealed
Yeah,
yet?
it's kind of a secret project. I haven't really mentioned it yet on um, my channel. Like, I haven't really actually uploaded a whole lot to my channel this year just because recently